Good morning, sir. Good morning, Dr. Goyal, sir, SK Goyal, sir, and good morning, our DG and all our friends who are attending this program today. Sir, to provide a very brief introduction about Managed Krishi Gandhi Knowledge Lecture Series, sir. This series, we are inviting eminent persons from varied fields of agriculture and allied sectors, and also from development sector, to motivate and inspire the professionals, sir, who are in agriculture and other related sectors. And Managed Krishi Gandhi Knowledge Series will invite outstanding personalities to share their knowledge essence through live lectures to its faculty members, trainees, students, and invitees from leading institutions. Now, we'll be recording this as video films, and then we'll be spreading this message for inspiring the various stakeholders by making it in putting it up in YouTube and also other social media platforms. So we are very thankful for you, sir, for accepting our invitation and coming to manage to give a talk on your experiences in agriculture development on public-private partnership and farmers-producer companies. Now I request our DG, Dr. P. Chandrasekhara, to invite Dr. S.K. Goyal and briefly introduce him.
Thank you, Dr. Jaya. Good morning to all of you. Warm welcome to Managed Krishi Gandhi Knowledge Series lecture. First of all, I would like to congratulate Managed family and all the stakeholders on this important occasion of 34th Managed Foundation Day. It's a great day for Managed on this important occasion. We are holding this Managed Krishi Gandhi Knowledge Series lecture. It is my privilege to welcome Dr. Sudhir Kumar Goyal, IAS retired, a friend of farmer, a friend of Managed, a friend of agriculture, to deliver this important talk on this day. Just to introduce the speaker, needless to say, entire Managed family is aware about Sudhir Kumar sir, but it is customary because many of our partner institutions are also taking part in this, and this talk is going to reach all the extension workers working in nook and corner of the country. It's very important to introduce this outstanding professional in the field of agriculture. Dr. Sudhir Kumar Goyal, he did his Masters in Development Studies from University of Bath, UK, PhD in Physics, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, and later in 1982, he joined Indian Administrative Service, and as IAS officer, he occupied very important positions, did great service to the people of Maharashtra cadre, and especially he's passionate about the field of agriculture. He worked as agriculture commissioner and secretary cooperatives, and director general special project tackling suicide among farmers in Vidarbha. We all are aware about this important event which took place a decade back, and also served as principal secretary and retired as additional chief secretary of agriculture, government of Maharashtra. In fact, his contribution to agriculture development in Maharashtra is always remembered, and the contribution is not only limited to Maharashtra. This the demonstrating benefits also impacted agriculture development in all other states agriculture departments. Because of his tireless efforts, Maharashtra state attracted $1 billion US dollars per year as a private investment in integrated value chains, and the extensive experience in working with the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and International Fund for Agriculture Development. And his special interest is establishing a public-private partnership framework for integrated value chains. He is a board of director of on the board of several important organizations like Mahindra EPC, NABARD Consultancy Services, Maharashtra Cooperative Development Corporation, and there is a big list. It is a great pride and it is a privilege for Manage family to have Dr. Sudhir Kumar Goyal sir here for this. The very purpose of this talk, sir, we all know that agriculture lives in villages and our extension workers work with farmers on day-to-day basis. While transferring the latest technologies and try to improve the living standards of farmers on day-to-day basis, they also face a lot of challenges, sometimes impacting the very interest in their own profession. This is heard by through our stakeholders whenever we conduct different academic activities of Manage. To keep up the spirit of extension worker by inculcating, by inspiring him with the knowledge and inspirational talks by outstanding extension professionals who are very successful and successfully contributed to the agriculture development. Time to time is very, very important. That keeps the inspiration, motivation level of our extension worker in remote corner of the country who is working with a farmer intact. So this is very, very important for keeping a very vibrant agriculture. Linking the lifetime experience of outstanding agriculture professional with the last mile extension worker on the country is the very purpose of this talk. Even though this talk is received by Manage audience directly or partner institutions directly, later it will be converted into a film and through Manage YouTube channel, which is very popular among extension professionals and ICT platforms, we will be disseminating this film to more than 1 lakh professionals and institutions working for agriculture development within the country and outside the country. This is the purpose of Manage Krishi Gyandeep Knowledge Series lecture. And we are very privileged to have Dr. Sudhir Kumar Goyal sir, and we requested sir to talk on his passionate topic, that is public-private partnership and promotion of farmers producers company, which is also talk of the nation today. Sir, thank you very much for accepting our invitation, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chandrasekhar, for giving me an opportunity on Manage Foundation Day. The entire Manage family, I congratulate them for doing an excellent work for last 34 years. I'm also thankful to Dr. Jaya to inviting me Krishi Gyandeep Knowledge Lecture Series. So it's a great privilege for me to talk on this auspicious occasion to you and to the extended family of extension workers throughout the country. Now, I've been asked to talk about my experiences. Now, sometimes it becomes difficult when you have been asked to about yourself. I would try to be as modest as I can. There has not been a great kind of experience which probably I could have shared. But what I would focus on three things. One is this concept of agricultural development that itself is very nebulous. And I have been asked to tell to the audience as to what can be done to further the cause of agricultural development, public-private partnership, and through the promotion of farmers producer companies. Now, this agriculture development globally starts talking about food security, nutritional security, economic opportunity, environmental sustainability, reduction in food loss and food waste. And that is the talk which Food Systems Alliance, which is now has been created by World Economic Forum, has been talking about. So the global agenda is very wide, and obviously it acts globally. But at the local level, what do we understand for a humble farmer in terms of agriculture development? Simply put, how can I reduce my cost of cultivation? How can I increase my production and productivity? How can I have a better quality of the produce? Is it possible to have me higher returns and the higher prices for my produce? How can I do this vocation sustainably so that from years to year I am not having problems of being indebted to the banks and to maybe my friends and relatives? And how do I mitigate my risks? Mainly the risk related to untimely coming of monsoons, disease and pests and so on. So the agenda for a humble farmer about whom I will be talking about, while the agricultural development agenda is much broader, it becomes very clear that agriculture for a farmer and for anyone else is full of verticals. It starts from maybe land preparation, soil testing, seed treatment, and so on. For this audience, I need not tell what are those verticals. If you start writing, and this will be a good exercise for the students in manage as to how many verticals are there in agriculture, starting from the grower till the produce reaches in the hands of consumers, whether they are ultimate consumers or processors or exporters. Huge number of verticals. And each vertical is being looked after by one or the other sector. So there is a seed sector, there is a fertilizer sector, there is a sector for crop protection, there is a mechanization and so on. So there are a good number of intermediaries in between the farmer and the consumer. So there are very large number of input suppliers, different services, mechanization, warehousing, and so on. But if we start looking at the complete value chain, it will be very difficult for any one of us to really claim that there are organizations who work horizontally across the verticals. What I mean by horizontal is that for a farmer, most important is not one particular vertical, but a farmer, what is important is the across the value chain, all the verticals, till the produce reaches in the hands of the consumers or till it is sold from the hands of the farmer. Some of the examples are there and very successful example. Everyone talks about Amul. For dairy sector, there are good number of horizontals. Poultry sector to certain extent, like we talk about hatcheries around, and then Venkatesh hatchery is one of them. Sugar sector is another. Andhra is the capital for seed. Seed sector is another. So there are some successful examples of horizontals which are working across the value chain, connecting farmers to the consumers, farmers to the market. But this is not true for cereals, pulses, oilseed, cotton, fruits, vegetables, spices, and so on. So most of the agriculture, in a way, is out of the ambit of horizontal integration. So what I understand from the agriculture developments, to move away from just the verticals to a horizontally integrated value chain connecting farmers to the consumers in such a manner that all the players across the value chain prosper. Consumer gets a better product, farmers get a better price, and in between there is a economic opportunities for all the players, whether they are service providers or they are input providers. So this is a limited understanding of agriculture development with which I will be discussing about what can we do to achieve this for a humble farmer through the constitution of farmer producer companies, and then after that connecting these organizations to the market over a platform which we may call it public-private partnership platform. Now, these are the only two things which I will be talking about. Time given for me is limited, so I would quickly go through these two concepts. So the first is, everyone understand that 85% of the farmers are small and marginal, and they don't have the scale They are not able to reach to the markets. They will not be able to take their produce on a longer distance. They will not be able to do their own field level processing and so on. So it means the first challenge is to build up the scale. And scale for integrating in such a manner that they are able to reach to all those horizontals which are in between from a position of strength, whether it is a seed supplier or whether it is a fertilizer suppliers or those who are giving credit or somebody who is buying the produce. So how does a farmer moves from a weak position to a strong bargaining position to negotiate with the market and to negotiate with those who would like to purchase their produce? Now I will go back to this concept from what is the genesis of these FPCs and how did it come to me. So I am coming to my experience. Now NATP, you remember, was a World Bank project 97 to 2002. In fact, it continued for 1 or 2 more years, and Manage was the focal organization. And during that period, I had visited a number of times because Maharashtra was one of those 6 states where NATP was being implemented. And there was a concept of Atma, which has become now pan-India concept. For all the districts, you have Agriculture Technology Management Agency. Within Atma, there was talk of having farmers groups. So everyone used to talk about, including the faculty of Manage, that how many groups have been constituted. And that is, I would say, in India, is the starting of organizing farmers into groups. They were small groups of 10 farmers, 20 farmers, and hundreds and thousands of such groups were created. Though it was basically for extension worker, but there was also a talk of whether we can connect them to the market. Not much work was done because NATP was an extension project. But there was also a platform which was created under the chairmanship of the respective district magistrates and collectors to have all the convergence of different departments, including marketing. And during that period, a program was going on for IPM through FAO on cotton, where there was the concept of farmer field schools. And that was the experience which I could gather because Maharashtra was also one of the states included in this program. And the officials of the FAO used to visit Maharashtra. And one Mr. Palani I remember, was there, with whom we have spent hours and hours moving around with the farmers and see how can we connect farmers through a group methodology of extension. It was not having a marketing component, but it was certainly a new way of looking at the extension, which Manage was spearheading. I think Manage was also one of the knowledge partners there. At that stage, I can say that we in Maharashtra took a decision that all the extension works now onwards would be in groups, whether it is training or demonstration or whether it is giving to some kind of an infrastructure or to give them any kind of a government schemes. The first preference was these farmers groups. And these farmers group were also encouraged to aggregate their produce. Remember, this is a group of 10 to 20, 25 farmers, small groups, and connect them and sell their produce, buy the input collectively and sell their produce collectively. Second decision which was taken was that all farmers field schools, if you remember, farmer field school has 25 farmers and a small plot on which the entire period is spent. So all these groups were also converted formally into Atma groups. And that is how all FFS, and their number is very large. In Maharashtra, you can see this year 5 lakh farmers will be part of the farmer field schools. That time, almost 1 lakh farmers were part of these And these all farmer field schools got converted also into farmers groups, connecting themselves to the market, whether it's cereals or pulses or oil seeds or cotton or fruits or vegetables, because we extended the concept of FFS from cotton to all other crops. So there used to be training of facilitators, and lakhs of such groups were becoming active. Third thing, that time we implemented in Maharashtra a scheme, we called it 3-stage Krishi Sainik. For every 10 farmers, there was a Krishi Sainik. And for 10 Krishi Sainik was a Krishi Mitra. And for 10 Krishi Mitra, that is for 1,000 farmers, there was a Krishi Vigyan Mandal. Hundreds and thousands of such, almost every village was having these Krishi Sainik, Krishi Mitra, and Krishi Vigyan Mandal. And a one-time grant was given for them to establish a small library for those technologies which are important for that particular geography. Fourth thing which was taken, all the schemes of government, whether training, demonstration, infrastructure, seed supply, horticulture, were converged into these groups. And that was the period from 2002 to 2005. Now, all this was not into something legally registered groups, because these are the groups, as you know, the group certificate is given by Atma. Then came this idea to mind that can we make it little bigger, because this is too small? Can there be a federal body of these groups? So if you remember in FPC, there is a concept of producer group, and the producer groups federation in a way is FPC or FPO. And that is how we started on a World Bank project, Maharashtra Agriculture Competitiveness Project. And in this project, there were 500 FPOs which were constituted. And the result was in 5 years, we had a good number of vibrant organizations working at the village level. This number now has reached 3,000. Out of 8,000 FPOs in the country today, 3,000 are in Maharashtra. And very large number of such groups have become successful, but very large of them are also not so successful. So I would say that this is the story of FPOs today. There are a number of organizations which have come up as the federal body of FPOs. There is a Maha FPO, there is a Maha FPC, there is a Vidarbha Federation, and so on. And you will be surprised that there are federations which are having almost 350 FPOs, their members. So there is a federal body also. And the last year they did the business of 1,000 crores for curing pulses and onion for NAFED. So at that stage, we realize that this is not enough. Just to organize the farmers into groups is not enough. They will have to be connected on two things. The convergence with government interventions in the absence of any formal infrastructure, because the government of India works on a scheme. It does not work on a convergence of the schemes. There is no scheme which converges all the schemes. That is something which is most challenging. The government of India spends a lot of money today. The figure has reached to crossing 2 lakh crores. That time it was 35-40,000 crores, because this PM Kisan scheme was not there. But we do not talk about the convergence of government of India schemes, and with that the state government schemes and the banking schemes together. Luckily at that time, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana 2012 guidelines were issued, and there was a small paragraph on public-private partnership for integrated agriculture. And that was something which I jumped on it, and we worked with FICCI, and we created a platform with the help of the industrial associations. And that time World Economic Forum had a conference 2011 in Mumbai, when they were talking about new vision on agriculture. And I personally approached them that whether they would like to help us to connect to the industries, and they readily agreed. And from 2012 onwards, every year they organize 2 conferences in Maharashtra only for us. And they brought all big players which were there in the market: ADM, HUL, Mahindra, Nujuvidu, UPL, Pioneer, Rallies, Jan Irrigation, to name the few. And we got connected with them, and the department and these market players together prepared projects under PPP IAD. And in over a period of 3 years, 50 such projects were implemented. 5 lakh farmers were connected. 500 crores worth of investment was there, where less than half, in fact, 33-35% came from government and the rest was from private sector. And that is how all these major players got connected to the farmers. Now, what was the impact? Productivity has increased. Some of the best technologies were used. You will be surprised that we were having only 1 lakh hectare under maize when this was started. In 5 years, the area reached to 5 lakh hectare because the best kind of hybrid seeds came to the market. That area now has become 20 lakh hectares. Rallies were able to show that the tur and moong and urud productivity can be increased. And if you remember, today in the market, there is a product known as Tata Sampann. And this Tata Sampann is the offshoot of this experiment, where the entire pulses are now procured by their organization, Tata Chemicals, under which the Tata Sampann works, and it is working there. Exports were there. First time there was projects on okra exports with KB Exports. The exports of pomegranate took place, and these farmers could come together. Banana export took place. Through these groups, connected them to the exporters. So what is the lesson behind it? This is something. Now this PPP IAD is still continuing in RKBY. The success story of Maharashtra spread to Karnataka. Karnataka did 20 projects. It went to Andhra. Andhra did another 35 projects. It is still going on in Andhra. It is still going on in Karnataka. And recently I came to know that Gujarat also started one project with UPL. So this was accepted by government as a good platform to connect farmers to the market and also convergence with the government scheme. But this is not taking off. This is not something which has become the talk of the town, that everything happens in the country will be around FPCs in the back end, private player in the front end, and the government schemes in between. Very simple model. FPC in the back end, marketeers in the front end, and the all government schemes in between. And that is how it could have taken place, but it did not. So what is the way forward? I am coming now the concluding part of my my talk, and that is, we have institutions of great capacity like Manage, Vamnicom, NIAM, IRMA, and good number of agribusiness professionals come out of these institutions. There is IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore also, which have agriculture. In fact, IIM Ahmedabad has been also rated as one of the good agribusiness institutions along with Manage. Now, these institutions have agribusiness professionals coming out of these, but most of them prefer to work with those agri verticals, seed or fertilizer or pesticides or mechanization or bank and so on. Can we encourage them to work in horizontal? Now that horizontal, can it be a agri startup? I will present before you a very simple idea. Let us say out of 14 crore farmers, some say 14, some say 12 crores. Let us say 10 crore farmers are grouped into 1,000 each over a period of time. It may start with 200 farmers, 300 farmers like FPC, We have started with 300 farmers, but it has a capacity to go up to 1,000. Which means that India would need 1 lakh such groups. These will be commodity groups, which is not difficult. We have 8,000 groups already, 10,000 more are coming, and the government of India thinks that we will take it forward. We can also use SMEs and AgTech companies to join hands with these groups. It's not necessarily very big procurers like ITC. There is no need, because like if you have a small unit for example, dairy or animal husbandry, or maybe they are working on seed. These are SMEs which can certainly connect themselves to a group of farmers around 1,000. And let us say for 5 such groups, we have one startup. Over a period of time, they start with one group and they graduate into 2, 3, 4, 5. And this startup is having a core team of just 5%. Somebody who works on marketing, agronomy, IT, finance, agribusiness. And this is a startup which is incubated in these institutions. What I talked about, Manage, NIAM, Vemnicom, Institute of Management, or any other incubator. What I see, the incubators are again working in the horizontals, working in the verticals. Very few of them is working in a horizontal way, because somehow with in startups, this concept of innovation has entered. That is good. They can do some innovation. But if you see that if they do some kind of innovation like measuring the soil moisture, measuring the soil moisture just by that, it does not become a business model at all. Or if I am doing just the soil testing, it does not create a business. While for horizontal integration, it creates business for all of them. So as I said, that this startup is to be given only very simple support by government, that we will converge all our government schemes based on the project you will design. Simple project is, how do I increase the income of a group of farmer over a period of time from a base level. So let us say if there is a group of only 1,000 farmers and each one of them is to reach to a level of production of 1 lakh, it means the turnover will be 10 crores. For 5 groups, it becomes 50 crores. If there are high value crops, fruits and vegetables in Maharashtra like grapes and pomegranate, you might reach even to 100 crores. And let us say just 1% of turnover or 5 to 10% of the increased profit. You have a baseline survey, you know that what is the income, and you keep on monitoring this income. How do you increase the income? Those 4 or 5 principles: decreasing the cost of cultivation, increasing production productivity, improving their quality, connecting them to the market, and having the risk mitigation strategies. They will be able to generate for themselves a revenue of 50 lakhs to 1 crore. For 5 persons to earn that much amount is huge. So initially it could be less, and it may require some kind of a support, like we have the incubation support of 25 lakhs. But over a period of time, all these institutions can develop their capacity for convergence, connect them to financing institutions like Samunnati, Avanti, NAC Kisan, banks, connect them to technology platforms like AgTech companies like Kalgudi. You are already working for them. Connecting them to different departments of the government, Ministry of Food Processing, MSME. MSME, you know that they have a very good scheme, and DG sir shared that cluster scheme with me. 5 crores are available. Ministry of Agriculture schemes. Agri Infrastructure Fund, schemes of 10,000 FPOs, which are already there, 7,000 crore scheme. Prime Minister Food Enterprises PMFE scheme, which is 10,000 crores scheme. PMKSY, NFSM, We have a scheme of extension, NMOP, and many others. So what is the plan? The plan is that we generate or we create such kinds of organizations who do the horizontal integration. They are the service providers. Neither they produce anything, nor they sell anything, nor they supply anything. They are only connecting all those verticals to the value chain. A verticals which are get connected only through intermediaries. So a lot of money goes into intermediaries. Right? Every shopkeeper is earning a profit. Every person on mechanization is earning a profit. All these players will be there, but we have to bring all these vertical players on this horizontal platform. Probably there with time, some of the companies will come with digital platforms and how to do it. My dream is that some company creates such kind of a digital platform, and on the digital platforms, such kind of startups start using the digital platform. Locally bring farmers on that platform. Locally bring the service providers, logistic players, warehousing, finance, and so on this platform. And every nook and corner of the country, you have such kind of service providers. I call them social enterprise. These are agri-business social enterprise. My dream is that over a period of time, if India has very large number of such social enterprise, each one of them working with few thousand farmers, connecting them to the government interventions, connecting them to the market, connecting them to the financing institutions, connecting them to the extension machinery, and do the job of an end-to-end value chain locally created in a given situation. It may graduate into exports, it may graduate into processing, and so on. And there are many of these FPOs who have shown the way, shown the path. I believe that FPC and PPP put together have a tremendous potential for a platform for future agriculture development for the country. I will stop here. I will welcome your questions. I hope I have done it in time.
Sir, thank you very much. Sir, I think you can take a little more time also if you wish to
Fine.
complete some more. sir.
Fine. I think,
Yeah.
this concentrated idea which is passed on to us, it can generate a lot of, discussion.
Yes.
Probably that is the intention of sir, kept sufficient time for discussion. So it is over to my colleagues. You can come out with, any clarification. Sir, I will start with, I have a few things in my mind.
Yes, yes.
Sir, number one, sir, you talked about one of the most difficult challenge what we are facing today is a convergence of all the schemes at the doorstep of this 5 people group or 1,000 farmers group. So, because farmer is one, departments are many, programs are many, and they are vertically administered by different departments. So, bringing convergence, policy level, some kind of hard decision has to be taken, sir. I think that serves as a prerequisite for making these groups successful. Second one, sir, group of 5 individuals. Yeah, that is fine. Actually, if you look, somebody takes care of finance, somebody takes care of marketing. But our initial attempts, we try to do it in Agri-Clinic and Agri-Business Center scheme. That scheme also provides a scope for group. We tried, but unfortunately we failed. The reason, in the beginning of this agripreneurship development, when these agripreneurs start earning, maybe the first 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, very difficult period for all these agripreneurs because it is hand to mouth. They face more questions than answers. Over a period of time, if they pass 1 year or 2 years, then they become little bit comfortable. So, but this difficult period, there will be a competition for survival. Who will dominate the group? Because due to lack of clarity among the group also. Somebody who is more vibrant, more enterprising, he dominates the group, and that is the point where the group started disintegration. We tried with 3-4 groups in the beginning. Hardly we could able to hold them for 6 months, 1 year, and afterwards, very interesting thing happened. All the 5 people who disintegrated, they established 5 successful units at individual level. But as a group, there was some difficulty. This is another challenge what we are facing here. But otherwise, I think every point you mentioned, sir, it looks practical. I think we should pilot test this idea with 1,000 farmers and 5 people, one group, and we should make it successful. That will become a social laboratory for other people to get inspiration. Otherwise, sir, we are one step ahead. Earlier, farmers were individual. Now we have group actually. We are one step ahead. Earlier, this agribusiness education was not so organized. Today, we have 135 organizations imparting agribusiness education in the country. More and more agripreneurs are coming out. More and more people coming out of Agri Clinic and Agribusiness Center scheme also. So on the other hand, we have adequate manpower. And I think this pilot testing is must. I think we must succeed in that. That is what the feeling I get, sir.
Yeah. So, Mr. Chandrasekhar, I think you have made a very valid point. Number one, this even if there is no convergence at the government level and if they are not taking a decision, the schemes are available for FPOs and those schemes are available for all FPOs. So we have to convince only to one particular maybe Commissioner Agriculture that when FPOs come up with a such kind of a project, which like in Maharashtra we are doing SMART and POKRA, because these are project based. They are preparing projects. I did not mention it. So we are having 2 projects. One is 2,000 crore project, another is 4,000 crores project, where it is project based. So FPO prepares a project and the government provides them all those kind of a convergence. If it is not formal, even informally it can be done. Coming to this group of 5, not necessarily that all 5 are from our institutes. Even if there is one person who says, I will engage one IT person and he will be my subordinate, nothing like that. Let them do it. The idea of 5% is not all of them are highly technically skilled person. We need one IT person, somebody who knows about finance, somebody who knows about marketing. If a single person can do all of them, nothing like that. Idea is, are we trying that a group of 1,000 farmers conduct a baseline survey, what is their income, prepare a project, how their income can be increased over a period of say 3 years, what are the interventions which are required, and implement it as a kind of a project. Now it can be done by government. It can. Why I am not saying government? Government will be doing it only for a 1 place, 2 place, 10 places, unless it becomes a business model. How can I convert it into a business model? Now, from where the business comes, 2 ways. All verticals to whom I will be converging with this group are supposed to pay me the service charge, whether it's a seed company or fertilizer company and so on, and they are paying. They are paying to DeHaat, they are paying to AgroStar and everybody. So wherever I am connecting farmers to the market player is willing to give me 0.5%, 1%, 2%. This is one source of revenue. Second source of revenue comes from all those services which are being provided, whether this service is financial, like banks are willing to give money. If it is mechanization services, custom hiring, they are also willing to give. This is second. So inputs, services. Third is, when I take it to the market player is also willing to give me a 1%, 2% for quality assessment, giving it to logistics players and so on. So there are 4 revenue streams. One is stream from FPO, the other is stream from input players, the third is stream from service providers, the fourth is stream from the off takers. So even if they take 0.5% from each one of them, and there are some good models, like I'm saying DeHaat is one good model. I consider it that they have been able to do it. So you have made a very valid point that let it be pilot tested in some of our these incubators. All those incubators are working only on some kind of a small innovation which does not convert into a big business idea. It is many of them, hundreds and thousands of them, can be promoted to say your job is to work with a group of farmers and take them to a higher level. Finish. One simple agenda. Whether they are working with fruits, some may be expertise in fruits, some vegetables, some exports. Okay. Second question, please.
In continuation of this, sir. Sir, we took your help in identification of some of the Andhra Pradesh Farmers Producers Organization under our World Bank project. Sir, we had some discussion in this regard previously. Now that World Bank project, we want to bring convergence of different schemes. In fact, rightly you said, sir, we are trying to bring the cluster development scheme, even though that is not related to our project. Our project will complete in 3 years, but the cluster development will continue forever because they take the ownership of all the infrastructure established in that. We are going to sign MOU with NIMSMI, sir, next month in this regard. It is not part of our project, sir, but we are trying to converge all the government scheme for the benefit of agripreneurs. Some little beginning we are making, sir.
Yeah, great. See, I was only thinking, if you go in government, everyone says in this scheme I was giving so many crores and I spent so much, and the review is finished. We should go from schemes or programs to projects. Now that is something that I would request if the manage can take it up. Should the government implement programs or should the government implement projects? Projects are time bound. Projects have a specific location. Project have a specific farmers with whom you are going to work. Project has all the convergence. So if you submit to government that, sir, we should move from programs to projects, and the government should only ask how many projects this state is implementing, out of these projects how many farmers are getting benefited, how many of them are fruits and vegetable projects, how many of them are cereals and pulses projects, and so on. And they are given the freedom to use all these verticals to connect to those projects. Let us start from there. This will be government driven projects. We are not saying that there will be entrepreneur. Okay, any other persons who would like to ask any question?
Good morning, sir. Dr. Gungolmat here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sir. I'm closely following this journey of farmer producer companies or farmer producer organization in the country. So there are certain issues which are hindering the success of these farmer producer companies. Out of 8,500, I understand that around 15 to 20 they have been successful. And if you see the growth, there is a skewed growth in these farmer producer companies. As per the Azim Premji University report, only 20 companies, they command around 50% of the total paid up capital of entire country. So out of these 20 companies, 11 are in milk sector and others they are in agriculture and horticulture sector, sir. So other than that, the issue bothering these producer companies is sustainability, and there are some regulatory issues which the stakeholders in FPO they are unable to follow. And of course, wherever good leadership is there, the producer companies are faring well. And some of the fly-by-night operators are there. They take a benefit and then go away. So because of that reason, I think hand-holding from 3 years, government has increased to 5 years, sir. So these are some issues which are bothering. What is your call on these issues, sir?
Okay, very good. Very good question. See, the biggest mistake which we have made in promotion of FPC is that FPC first and business plan later. And even now, government is not ready to reverse it. While in the recent guidelines, there is a paragraph saying that the business plan should be prepared first. And for that business plan, you organize the farmers. So let us say in a particular district, we can do work on, say, pomegranate, and there can, it is a theoretical exercise. Would there be a FPC which could be successful based on pomegranate? So one can work it out, how many farmers should be there, what kind of infrastructure should be there, what kind of marketing should be there. It becomes a model project. This is what the present guidelines say, that the project management agency, which is a national level, will prepare or get prepared these model projects. Model projects will say which commodity and whether an FPO will be successful or not. So this is a business plan comes first. This is a business outline. On the basis of that, the training program and everything gets worked out. And that is how you do the handholding. So the first changes will have to be made is that wherever we want to organize an FPO, first we should find out whether for that particular commodity there can be a good business plan for such kind of an organization to come, and then it starts working on that. What was done is that the whole thing was given to resource institutions and NGOs who were only working on social aspects, bringing people together, creating awareness, and then finally doing. And NABARD scheme also talked about for each and every kind of a level, they were saying, okay, this much money will be given. At a later stage in the third year, there was a small business plan introduced, which is mostly, if you see these schemes, cut and paste. So I think our entire program of FPO development will have to start from a business plan and slowly develop into to translate that business plan with the help of an FPO. That, in my opinion, is the way forward.
Sir, good morning, sir. Myself, Dr. Renuka.
Yeah.
Sir, it's very excellent input given, sir, practical input given by you, sir. You have a lot of experience on MSCP, sir. Actually, MSCP is a multi-state agriculture competitiveness project. It became as a Maharashtra agriculture competitiveness project because other states, I was also involved during that period. But MSCP is excellent work done in Maharashtra also with your leadership. And particularly these farmers organizations, FPOs or FPCs in Maharashtra, they are doing very well, sir, compared to other states. But I have one small question. That's you mentioned about farmers interest groups at the village level. Then it was converted into FPOs or FPCs. Present condition, these FPCs also forming with unorganized, just individual members also they are forming with FPCs, or even FPOs also they are forming, sir. But which, according to your experience, sir, if baseline, that's a platform, establishing platform at village level, it starts from FIGs to FPCs or from unorganized community, whichever is sustainable in your place. That is
Okay.
in Maharashtra. Yeah. And
very good question. Yeah.
And another thing is, particularly Maharashtra is doing very good work on FPOs. Now, sir, what type of what is the motivational factors or any leadership, any established leaderships are there? Or what is there any separate trustworthiness among the farmers? Or why it is sustainable in Maharashtra, sir? But other places, it's not at all. It's very difficult to sustain the FPOs, even small groups also, particularly farmers groups. But in the case of SNGs, women groups, they are sustaining very well. But in the case of men groups, men farmer groups, its sustainability is the problem. And why this sustainability rate is very high in Maharashtra, sir? What are the parameters adapted for in your place, sir? And particularly sustainability.
Yeah. So your first question is that should we go from FIG to FPC, or should we directly go to FPC? I would say none. So my answer to the first question was, we should not hurry up the registration of an FPC. We should start working on the business idea. I will give you an idea. let us say it is going to be, let us say it is going to be a fruits and vegetable or fruits business. So it means that they will have to start working at the grassroots level for a period of, that is how in MSCP was done. MSCP registration was 1.5 years after the work was started. It is not on the day one.
Yes, sir.
So the farmers are brought together, they form into group, they start working and sending their produce to the market. There is some turnover, they start getting an idea that coming together means a lot of sense. So the demand for FPO comes from below. So I would say that whether you have a producer group or you have an FPC, first start in an informal way. Like Atma groups were also successful, they were informal. So first start with that business idea, however small it may be, or organizing farmer field schools, taking them for exposure visit and so on. So after 1.5 years, when they get an idea that it makes a lot of sense to come together, and there should be some tangible benefits which are harvested by that. For example, I was in Gondia. What they did, they used to take vegetables individually on a motorcycle. Now, a simple idea was given that there was a Samaj Mandir which was lying vacant. Why don't you bring all your vegetables here? Let us hire a small van and then take it to a longer distance. And they started getting more money. Now, this is a simple intervention. So I would say there should be simple interventions first. And when there is a felt need to come together, because felt need is, okay, we need a warehouse, we need a vehicle of our own, and so on. So when there is a felt need of coming together, then the FPOs become more successful. So that is the question, the answer to your first question. Second question is, which is in the first question. They have become sustainable because this is the methodology which has been used. Business first, organization afterwards. It is not organization first and business afterwards. So wherever we, unfortunately, what has happened that these 3,000 FPOs, almost 2,000 FPOs are self-promoted. No organization is involved. They catch hold of a company secretary, and company secretary charges 20,000 rupees, and in 15 days they get a certificate, FPC is registered. But this kind of a hand-holding has not taken place. So in my opinion, whether this is an FPO program which is there by Government of India, if this is being done, first there should be, the implementing organization should have a very clear idea as to what is the business strategy. Are you going to set up a dairy? Are you going to have exports of pomegranate? What exactly you have in mind? And the entire training program should be designed around that. What is happening is that there are standard design, nothing to do with that FPC information and so on. They feel so much bored about it. Now they should have, why we are doing this? We are doing this because we are going to earn more. So if this is how, if it is done, wherever this methodology has been used, and the second reason maybe is that Maharashtra industrially better advanced. There are good number of market players which are there already, and there is a history of cooperatives which has been successful. So there are good number of entrepreneurs in the market. In Jharkhand and Bihar, you may not find those such entrepreneurs. Now these entrepreneurs have taken lead to get the FPOs established. So because I want to serve, say, fruits and vegetables to a urban population, but I am not a farmer. So they will catch hold of 100, 200, 300 farmers, encourage them to come together, and then they take the front end and this take the back end. So it is a kind of a combination between SME and FPO. So this combination of SME and FPO is really working very well.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Namaste, sir. I am Dr. Bal Subramani, working as a faculty, sir. Sir, one thing actually, the FPOs are very, very important, as you said, and the social entrepreneurs are very important for increasing the market linkages and other things, sir. So in case of FPOs, wherever there is a vegetable growing or continuous activities are there, it will be sustainable. But in case of dryland agriculture, where single crops are grown, either groundnut or any single crops, unless they go for some validation and other things, remaining 6-7 months, there will not be any activity and there will not be any cohesion among the members. So how successful the FAOs are in a dryland condition where single crops are grown? What is your experience in that, sir?
Yeah, I would say that even if there is one crop, if I am getting more income out of it, the FPOs will sustain, because even if they are working for a shorter period, but they will not stop there. I have seen that these dryland area, like part of Vidarbha, Marathwadas, even if they are working just on soybean, many of them, for example, I'm giving an example, many of them converted them into a seed company. So these are the seed producer companies. So they are giving, say, a soybean seed. They are giving tur seed. And so from grain to seed, they have started earning more. They have got a seed processing unit also established. After that, what they started doing, because when the harvest comes, the processing takes time, then the marketing takes time. So after the harvest, there is a complete lot of work which needs to be done, because it has to be clean, it has to be packed, it has to be transported. So it has become a value chain, because this seed is to be used in the next season. Many of them then, when they have seen that it makes a lot of sense to come together, they started working on how do we bring water to this dry land. So many of them come together for community wells. They will start taking water from a long distance, prepare a pipeline and so on. Also reach to the government under IWMP or many other programs. So I would say that the answer to your question is the success is what drives that. The success would mean higher income. Success would mean going from grains to seeds, for example. Success would mean lower cost of cultivation because you have got now your own input shop. Success would mean that you have got scientists coming to their field, giving them some knowledge because they are 1,000 or good number and they are able to reduce the cost of cultivation and so on. Many of them have become like cotton. Cotton, there are certain groups which work so beautifully in terms of how to control pink bollworm. How do we have the picking done properly? How do we take it to the nearest ginner? Cotton is just one crop. Then convert it into bales. Like in Gujarat, there are some FPOs who do not sell cotton; they sell bales. So this is how even for single crop one could work.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, good morning. Myself, Kanadurga from Manage. Sir, you said business first, organization next. So, but my field experience tells me that once I met an FPC in Pune, where I found these agricultural graduates passed out. They belong to the farming family and they started a farmer producer company. But they are treating that they are doing well. There are members and members, they don't have any knowledge. They could mobilize members and members, they are not strictly following the provisions under Farmer Producer Companies Act. They're doing the business and then helping the members. But board of directors, I sat with them in a meeting where the board of directors, they because there will be elections again after 6 years or 5 years. They have to select new members. Other members are not groomed. So business first organization. So they are not actually following the true sense of like they are treating it as like any private limited company.
Yes, you are right. There are a good number of FPCs which run like a private limited company. As long as the farmers are getting returns out of it, farmers don't mind it. But the moment they see that this person is making a lot of money for himself or herself, and the benefits are not being passed on, the organization gets disintegrated. So you are right. Strictly speaking, it should be board of directors and so on. But many of these organizations are run by someone who is so enthusiastic. He's got a business idea and then he can do it. Probably the fellow might get elected as a chairman continuously for maybe all time to come. But other members do not mind this such kind of dominance by a maybe group of people, as long as they are able to gain out of it. I would say that if the farmers are gaining out of such an experience, they are earning more, their productivity is going up, their quality is improved, I would say that we will have to bear with it. So, but you are right. Like in many of the cooperatives also, the same situation is there. Some of the cooperatives do not work on cooperative principles, but such cooperatives run as long as the members are happy. But the moment the members are unhappy, the cooperative gets disintegrated. So I would say as long as farmers are happy under the platform of FPC, because FPC also will have to have all these compliances. Every year they will have to have returns to be filed and so on and so forth. So registrar of company is also a regulator. So if some of the FPCs are being run like a private limited company, there is a possibility that after few years such companies will get denotified. There is a possibility, because if they are not keeping it in that manner. But even if I would say, if it is not FPC, even if it is run like a private company and farmers are gaining out of it, why should we insist that it has to be only on FPC basis? Gains to the farmer is important.
One more important issue in farmer producer companies is lack of database at one single place. So we put figure at 8,500. SFAC and NABARD, they have uploaded their database on their website. So in fact, SFAC made an effort to, maintain the database of other agencies also, but precise estimation is nowhere there, sir. Nowhere there, sir. So I think, database for policy advocacy or for academician and researcher, it is very important. So one converged source of database is very important, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Gumagol Mahat, ROC website gives the integrated figure of FPC. I can share with you, I have got a procedure which my staff have used it, and that is how it has been used even by Ajim Premji. ROC website gives the complete database, because ROC website will have to have the complete database. Nobody can get registered unless the whole thing is uploaded on, and it includes the name. It also in name of the FPO. It also includes the address. It includes the email address. In some cases, even the phone number. So this information is available. For Maharashtra, I've got a figure of this every month. There is a figure which comes. So if in Manage, you can do very easily. So just to go to the ROC website, ROC central website, and you will get the complete data of FPC. But the problem comes for multi-state cooperatives or cooperatives. That data will have to be collected from different states, because many of the states are now computerized. The whole data of cooperative institutions like Maharashtra has got, Andhra must be getting, multi-state cooperatives. From there, because they have a categorization like housing society and credit society, and then they have this marketing society and so on. So one will have to draw. If there is a separate category which is there, one can go to their website, respective state website, and take out this. But fortunately, 90% or more than 90% of FPCs are FPOs are FPCs. So ROC website is sufficient.
Thank you, sir.
Coming back to extension, now how as an extension system we can facilitate this entire process. Actually, it has to start with integrating commodity specific value chain extension as a job chart of every extension worker. Maybe in our capacity building program, we can take appropriate step as manage as a capacity building institution. We can play important role in that.
Yeah, very good. See, my request would be we should convert our extension workers into project managers. Okay. Now, let me explain what is a project manager. Project manager is one person who prepares a project for a group of farmers. So if we say that under Atma, projects will be formulated. So what they will do, they will know what are the schemes for the next year and how we are going to use those schemes to fund these projects. Now, maybe, for example, let us say DRIP. So under the DRIP, the total money may be for sufficient for 1 lakh farmers, but for your projects, you may require only 5,000. So the state is to take a decision. Unfortunately, what is happening that everywhere now there is a queue. For everything, there is a queue, online queue. So there is no special dispensation, which I think manage can tell them that wherever there is a queue system, and if there is a project which is formulated by Atma or is a project formulated by FPO, they should be given that benefit on priority by breaking the queue. So it has to be in the form of a project. So I would say that projectized extension is the new way to look at it. So far it was technology extension. We should say our purpose is to increase the farmer's income end to end. So I will not be working on just one part of the technology like soil testing and so on. I will say I will work on all those technologies which are needed by these group of farmers. So it become a technology extension. Second part is that I will also be connecting them to the market. So it will be a market driven extension. So you have been talking about market driven extension for ages. When ACACB was there and so on. So we are saying that time has come, we will have to converge these two, technology driven extension and market driven extension, and integrate them into an extension project, an end-to-end project. I will say value chain project. So value chain projects requires technology, value chain project requires logistics, value chain requires finance, and it requires marketing. I am of the opinion with so many years, whatever I worked in the government, I tried my own way to go from programs to projects. PPP, ID were projects. They were not programs. So if we can quickly go from programs to projects, things will be very different. Like I would say MFE can be converted into projects. This FPC program of 10,000 can also be converted into project, because when they prepare their business plan, as per business plan, all that should be provided. Suppose they require a godown, we should know from where the godown will be provided. If they require a grading unit, we should know it will be provided by MIDH. So this business plan of an FPO should also indicate from where this money will come in terms of subsidy, in terms of loan.
This is Dr. Ashwini. You mentioned about social enterprises, and to the extent possible, these FPO, they have to satisfy their role both as a social as well as economic organization. So my question is, how do we make the FPOs future-proof? Means in terms of enhancing their financial capabilities and governance and their contribution towards the society. What is the way ahead in front of the FPOs?
Yeah, see, very good question. See, the point is that if they have their internal capacity, which many people are doing, they are giving trainings and so on. If there is a highly driven person in an FPO, that person is good enough to do the convergence. It is like any industry. Suppose I am an entrepreneur, I want to develop an industry. I don't require, if I require, I will engage a consultant. But how many such self-driven people are there? A good FPO can be found by a self-driven individual, and there are FPOs which revolve around a single person, because the fellow knows the business idea is very clear. He knows what is to be done. I know one Mr. Sheikh who is there in near Pandharpur, and their business is thriving. They have got now 30 crores turnover. They started with the grading unit for resin, then they have put up another unit for floor making and so on, and then they do marketing. So there are many FPOs which run through some very highly socially and economically driven individuals, but their number is small. Now, what is the way forward for others? I have coined a word, agri-architect. Now, you must be knowing, what does an architect do? Architect neither supplies anything, not sells anything, nor gives money. He is an architect. What he does, you are a client, you say, you give me a house, build up, and he organizes everything and gives a house. Once the house is built up, he takes an exit. And agri-architect is also the same concept. The social enterprise and agri-architect. We are 1,000 persons. My reputation is that when you engage such and such person, like let us say Dr. Ashwani is a very good social enterprise, or she is a very good agri-architect. So they will engage, okay, doctor, please help us. You build up their business over a period of 3, 4, 5 years at a fee, and you take an exit. So it is a borrowed intellect. In first case, it was an internal intellect. So the social enterprise was in the blood. Here, but that will happen only for 1 or 2%. That is how the FPC success rate is small. We do not have such kind of service providers outside. Service providers to organize the farmers, to connect them to the government interventions, to connect them to the market, set up their business, do their hand holding for 1 year, 2 years, and exit. In industry, you must have heard, there are project management consultants. Now, if an FPO wants to engage a project management consultant, is there any? There is none. So we have kept that space totally unattended. It looks like that the government will do. And what government does? Government involves an NGO. NGO is paid. Now this paid worker is not able to put their soul into it. Now these NGOs, they are good in terms of organizing people, but to develop a value chain is very difficult. So if such kind of people are not there, that is what we will have to create, such kind of service providers. If we are able to say, okay, these are the 2 or 3 persons who will come to you and they will be able to see to it. So maybe what Dr. Chandrasekhar was saying, let us try it for 3, 4, 5 projects and do it whether it is doing.
Yes, sir. I think we have come to the end of the session. No more questions. Sir, thank you so much. It's a wonderful session, sir. Actually, you took us through many of the new ideas. So this verticals and horizontals, making farmers help them how we can help the farmers to move from verticals to horizontals. This is a really new area. Though we are talking about marketed extension, now we can totally demarcate these two things and then help the farmers to get into the horizontals as well. So that's a wonderful idea you have told us, sir. And then about our institutions, sir, institutions like Manage, NIAM, and Vanicom, and IIMs, etc. So how these eminent institutions can play an important role in developing the manpower in horizontals. maybe something like developing agribusiness social entrepreneurs, also agri architects that you spoke about. They're really very interesting concepts, sir. And also about moving from programs to projects, because they have a specific start date, end date, and then convergence of all the schemes, and then specific objectives and specific outputs that project has to yield at the end. So moving from programs to projects is a wonderful idea, and our Director General has already captured that, and maybe thinking about how to move forward. And then also about this project-based extensions, how an extension worker, a simple extension worker, can become a project manager, and then projectized extension can be taken up at the field level. So again, everything is actually aimed at how we can increase the farmers' income, and then how we can improve the standard of living and also the self-esteem of the farmers. So that's what you spoke, sir. Very interesting. And then I think
Greatly captured. Dr. Jaya, you have greatly captured. I think you would have given a much better lecture that even I have given. Very good, Dr. Narayan. So impressed.
So nice of you, sir. Sir, actually, sir, any great lecture will definitely start developing questions in the minds of the audience. And I'm sure that there are so many questions now. Maybe we have to develop our questions, because the thought is there, but we have to really work on how we can develop this question into a kind of project or what it is. So I think you are very successful, sir, in making sparkling some questions in all of us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you very much. For
sir, on behalf of Manage family, we are grateful to you, sir, for sparing your valuable time, accommodating your time for this.
Oh, great.
We are greatly benefited. Sir, today is our foundation day. Of course, ideologically, you have laid another new brick. You talked about agri architects. Probably it will make many of our colleagues sleepless to think what to do in their next tomorrow onwards, how we can just start implementing that in various activities. It is a great valuable input, sir, and not only for Manage faculty, many unseen audience through film whom we are going to reach. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
At this moment, I would like to thank all the Manage family to take part in this session, sir. Thank you so much, sir.